back. Look, if you subscribe to the America First policy perspective, Trump and Vance just said to Zelenskyy what I think at least 77 million Americans have been waiting to hear. This exchange was pure gold.
The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing.
Look, Russia started this war, but there's been no effort until Trump came in for actual peace. Zelenskyy has been running around for the last 3 years, demanding that everybody give him money and arms and resources with no say on accountability or no say how it's being spent. And, it wasn't getting anywhere closer to peace. And finally, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance said, hey, we're not going to do this anymore if you're not going to work towards a peace deal. And look at Zelenskyy's face during this whole thing. To date, no one has challenged him like this. Democrats have just blindly praised him. Well, they put the little Ukraine flag in their Twitter bio and in front of their house and on their car. There has been no strategy, though. While young men on both sides of this are fighting trench warfare like World War I style and dying to the tune of 1 million people. And Trump said, if you're going to continue to take our money, you're going to have to give us a plan for peace. And Zelenskyy tried the same old tired talking point, which Trump shot down.
During the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
I'm not playing cards.
Right now, you don't. You're playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
And that was it. Trump, rightfully so, booted him out of the White House, canceled their press conference. He told him to come back when he's ready to make peace. And while the left melts down, all their experts on all these networks are freaking out. They are wrong. This is the type of diplomacy that has been lacking in the world that has allowed this war to start in the first place. The reactions on CNN, though, were absolutely priceless.
Now, I want to start with, look at her face. I mean, Christiane. Hold that thought for once. Okay, actually, Christiane, please take it away.
Never in the history of modern diplomacy, war, peace, whatever, have I ever seen anything like it.
Oh my. Why do we even care what that woman said? They think this is bad for America. They are wrong. This is America reasserting itself on the world stage. And I think even CNN, one of their guests, inadvertently admitted it.
The press conference between President Zelenskyy and President Trump has officially been canceled. Again, that press conference was set to take place about 20 minutes ago. We watched what happened in the Oval Office, and everything sort of flew off the rails from there.
This is a catastrophe for Ukraine and for what has been an American-Ukrainian alliance in pushing back on what Russia has attempted here.
Yeah, it is a disaster. For Ukraine, think about this. Zelenskyy came with more demands than concessions, and J.D. Vance pointed this out.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Thank you. Thank you. That is the only thing we should have heard for this entire conversation is thank you from Zelenskyy. And it took him getting kicked out of the White House for Zelenskyy to get it through his head that he finally tweeted after leaving where he said, thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for this visit. Thank you at POTUS, Congress, and the American people. Ukraine needs just and lasting peace. And we are working for exactly that. Really? Didn't say that in the Oval Office. But the thing that I don't think anyone is making the connection on any channel today, look at this through Trump's eyes, too. Trump doesn't trust Zelenskyy. Keep in mind, Zelenskyy, like Vance just said, campaigned in Pennsylvania with Democrats signing bombs. Also, Zelenskyy essentially helped impeach Donald Trump in 2020. Donald Trump's first impeachment was over a phone call with Zelenskyy alleging a quid pro quo. That was to expose the Biden family for something that not only Biden admitted on tape happened, but he also pardoned his son Hunter for. Zelenskyy knew there was no quid pro quo there. He knew Trump was simply asking him a question, and Zelenskyy could have stopped Donald Trump's impeachment by coming out and saying, yes, he didn't ask for a quid pro quo, but he didn't. And I think that's partially why Democrats have committed this like unwavering loyalty to Ukraine and Zelenskyy over the last 3.5 years. But look, do I blame Trump for not being happy with Zelenskyy now? Absolutely not. But now Trump holds those cards. And America we've always been a very benevolent nation when it comes to foreign aid. We're happy to help other countries, sometimes to our own detriment even. But we're not an endless pot that you can demand money from to wage a war where you can't account for half of that money, especially when you don't wear a suit and come over and sit in our Oval Office. And because the Democrats' golden calf just got called out, they're now reverting back to the same stupid tactic, the Russia, Russia, Russia.
The President of the United States is a coward who is Vladimir Putin's puppet. And the Vice President of the United States is a pogue and a coward who is Donald Trump's puppet. And so what we just witnessed was a meeting in the Oval Office between two cowardly puppets and a hero. And whether you voted for these puppets or not, just as an American, as a fellow American, it's just embarrassing.
Congressman, you're just embarrassing. This is so ridiculous. This is the measure of how bad Democrats are on foreign policy. And they sit there in their smugness and accuse Trump of being Putin's puppet because he wants to talk with the other party that's waging this war. Like, really, Seth? You want to try to make this argument? What's the Democrats' solution been towards this? Pump endless money into a Ukraine war it's a proxy war, actually, while not talking to Putin. That's not a plan. Clearly, it's not working. But since you want to make the point that Trump is somehow in cahoots with Putin, let's have that conversation. You can strap in for this one, pal. First off, who did Putin encroach on Ukraine under? Oh, right. It was your guys, Obama and Biden. It wasn't under Trump. You want to know the most ridiculous thing about this claim? That whole Russia, Russia, Russia narrative? Who started that? Oh, that's right. It was Hillary Clinton who hired a British spy who was formerly assigned to Russia to write a dossier that was completely bogus. That was, once it was investigated, the only person actually found guilty of Russian collusion was one of the investigators. And a $50 million 3-year investigation could not produce a single shred of proof that Trump had worked with Russia in any capacity on anything. Even further, you know who sold 20% of America's uranium to Russia? Wasn't Trump. It was Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State.
Uranium One. It's a company traded on the stock market in Canada, and they start acquiring uranium concessions in places like Wyoming, Texas, New Mexico, and Utah. And by 2009, they have what is expected to be 50% of future uranium production in the United States. This gets the interest of Vladimir Putin and the Russian government. And in fact, there are State Department cables that were leaked through WikiLeaks, which show that Hillary was aware of the fact that the Russians took great care to try to dominate the international uranium market.
And while this company was going public, Russia, through subsidiaries, made a very overvalued offer, but it couldn't get approved to buy that company until the State Department, the U.S. State Department, signed off under international uranium treaty agreements, which Hillary Clinton did.
And Hillary Clinton, who has a record of opposing precisely these kinds of deals, comes out and says, you know what, I think this is a good deal. Let's let Vladimir Putin take control of what is now 20% of U.S. uranium production.
Who's the puppet of Putin, huh? Not Trump. Trump is the one guy who's actually trying to bring Russia to heel. Russia's power, as well noted by Soviet Union transcripts, is the perception of their power. What would remove perception of their power more than if Trump were to start mining the very minerals Russia seeks on their own border? That was step one that was supposed to be done today. Throughout history, the colonization of any area has been whether or not you grow crops in it. But in the last 40 years, it's become where you mine your resources. Case in point, China has staked its claim on probably close to 50 countries via investments in mining and infrastructure. Who's challenging them? No one, not even us. And Trump was about to beat them at their own game. Keep in mind, Russia and China have become pretty cozy recently. Trump is speaking the language of power to a bunch of communists, which no American leader has done since Ronald Reagan. Trump's intent today was strength, was to essentially intend to stake mining claims, hence territorial claims, in Ukraine. He was privatizing peace. This mineral deal that Zelenskyy refused to keep his mouth shut long enough to sign, Trump was essentially claiming Ukraine as a U.S. territory without putting a single troop on the ground and not firing a single shot while ending the war, all done with privatization. That, by the way, would have recouped the money that we've spent over there over the next decade and a half, which is still on the table, I think. It's good to have an American first guy back in the White House, though.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.